Ancient Greece. Ancient Greece is located on the Mediterranean. And as you can see here, it was neighbors to the ancient empire of Persia, which conquered most of the land in the Fertile Crescent and even east, going into the land north of the Arabian Sea. The Persians allowed conquered people to follow their own religions and customs as long as they paid their taxes. In spreading their empire, they conquered Greek colonies. Athens sent help to different colonists, and this led to the Battle of Marathon. You can see here Greece is in green in the corner of the map, and then all of this orange is the Persian Empire. The Greeks started off with the Minoans. They were successful traders, and they lived off the island of Crete. Greece is a very mountainous, rocky area, peninsula, smack dab in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, and lots of islands, not a good farming area. They are known for olive trees and goats because it's not a good farming area. There's not good soil. You don't get a lot of wheat growing and things like that. It is a series of city-states. As you can see from this map, there are lots of ancient Greek cities. There's lots of islands going on in the Aegean Sea. And today, this whole area is a treasure trove of ancient ruins and monuments and temples, and a lot of really good tourist type attractions are also there. The rulers lived in large palaces. They adopted ideas and technology from Egypt and Mesopotamia, and they were eventually destroyed by the Massilian invasion. The Massilians were sea traders. They spoke Greek. They dominated the Aegean world from about 1400 to 1200 BC. This is all pre the birth of Jesus. They acquired skills and customs from the Minoans, Egyptians, and Mesopotamians. As you can tell, there's a lot of cultural diffusion going on because of all the trading. The geography, like I said, it's a peninsula. 3 sides are water. It was divided by mountains into 2 isolated valleys. There was a very rugged coastline with many islands, lots of trading, a lot of shipping, a lot of fishing, and that kind of thing. The effects of living on the seas linked to the outside world. Everyone were skilled sailors. They were big traders, and the Greek colonies formed all around the Mediterranean area. The governments of Greece, you had the polis, which was the major city and surrounding countryside. And the polis would be like a city in its suburbs. And they had the Acropolis, which was the high city that stands on the hilltops. And then, of course, you had the main cities below, which is where the marketplaces, the public buildings, and the homes were. The governments evolved from a monarchy originally with a king to an aristocracy with some major landowners controlling. You had oligarchy, which were 3 generals or military leaders basically running the country. And then tyrants, which was one guy running the whole thing. It's almost like a dictator. And eventually it would lead to the birth of democracy in Athens. The 2 most powerful city-states in ancient Greece was Athens and Sparta. Sparta was a warrior society. They focused on physical strength in the military. The men trained for the military at the age of 7, and it was a very strict, harsh life, very disciplined. Spartan women were expected to stay fit to produce healthy sons. They ran the household. They obeyed their husband, but they could inherit property because the Spartans were always out fighting somebody, so you had to be able to inherit basically the home when your husband was killed in battle. The government, they had 2 kings and a council of elders. The state owned the slaves, were called helots, and they owned the land. The state owned the land. The helots worked the land. They outnumbered the Spartans, so they were strictly controlled. They actually had more slaves than citizens. The military technology, they had a phalanx, which was basically spears and swords overlapping with shields, and it was the soldiers would take these spears and swords, and the shields would overlap them, and they would stand closely together, and it would protect them as they were basically attacking another area. Ordinary citizens can afford shields and weapons also, so it made it good for the poor people to be able to protect themselves during battle. Athens was the first democracy in the world. The people resented the power of the nobles or the oligarchy. Solon is elected. He's the first guy, and he makes these democratic reforms. The Council of 500 ran the government day-to-day activities. They were chosen by lottery. And then you had a citizens' assembly, and that was open to all citizens. Citizens were the men. Women were considered second-hand citizens. They could not do anything. They ran the home. Poor women worked outside the home. Only boys could attend school if the family could afford it. Athens' Golden Age. A golden age is a time of peace and advances in art, education, math, and science. As you go through global studies, you're going to hear a lot about different golden ages. Athens is one of the first big ones. You had the growth of philosophy with Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Art and architecture really prospered and grew. You had the Parthenon and amphitheaters. And then, of course, you had poetry and drama and the government with the growth of democracy.